Hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome you to the AISG certification training for security. This is the first set of training from our series. This training is provided by Fonity India, specifically focusing on governing AI and reshaping the future. Training provided on the date of 25th April, and the trainer is RB. We'll talk about the trainer in a while. So, moving to the agenda quickly. So this is a map based study. We'll also talk what is the benefit of having a mind map based study. How do we retain the information on long run? We'll talk about a trainer profile and the different training offerings from Flonity Training. And the subject particularly focused on AI governance. Again, like this is due focus for AISG security certification, which is again free of cost. And in the era of AI developments and a lot of things which are happening across globe, it's very important that we keep ourselves upgraded and acquainted with AI governance and security principles. And this training is particularly focused on that aspect. And we'll also talk towards the end the different certifications which are available, and how you can get yourself enrolled, what are the fees, what are the benefits, and what are the key syllabus areas of different certifications over there. So like basically this slide talks about AI versus human intelligence. Both of them, they walk on similar fashion, even though we say artificial intelligence is the baby of human, obviously, because AI is created by human. At the same time, the similar analogy is applied for human brain functioning versus AI. So AI itself is a system. Like for example, you have input, you process it, and you take estimates or outputs to business decisions, and take important strategic decisions. Similarly, human brain works. Like when you hear things, there's a processing which is happening in your brain, which is kind of a central processing unit. You remember those concepts, which is very much similar to system memory, and then ultimately you take decisions in terms of actions, your ideas, or relationships and things like that. So both of them, they walk on similar passion. And you will see that's the reason in AI a lot of these terminologies are very similar to how human brain functioning, like decision makings or neural networks, the nodes and subnodes and connectivities and things like that. So this entire training is focused via a mind map and flowchart based learning. Why such? Like, why do we have these kind of two-dimensional mind maps, and why do we move away from PPT based or other method of learning? Number one is better understanding, because in the era of AI, if you want to upskill yourself on AI security or governance, you have to have understanding about networking, infrastructure, and then data layers, data governance, architecture. Again, understanding machine learning principles, models, how AI models are built, and then you can look forward for AI governance, which is not practically feasible. If you are somebody from some other background than technology, let's assume that you are from accounting or finance background, from supply chain, it's very difficult for you to upgrade yourself on AI governance. And it's not only the profession where technology risk or cybersecurity professionals would be part of it, but AI governance has to be understood by each and every individual nowadays, because that is something which is expected. So a lot of these jobs which are repetitive in nature can be taken over by AI, but something which would remain with human is where they have some inputs in the human in the loop component of AI, right? So in that case, you need to have an understanding of oversight, governance, what are things happening, and why this is a processed output coming up in this way. This kind of understanding is really required, is and a need of the hour. And that is the reason we want to focus on very very fast learning, instead of focusing on one particular model and seeing how it gets evolved over time. it's important that you see various kinds of models which have been there and what kind of risks are associated. So again, I just want to focus that this training is not to develop an AI model. If there are specific interests, there are other trainings which are available, but this particular training is focused on how do you govern it, how do you ensure the securities and safeties of your AI systems within your organizations are managed and having proper oversight. So will ensure better understanding. The next component is improved retention, because the visual memories, it creates an image in your mind. The colors, how you see the connectivity between one node to another node, it imprints in your brain and it remains for a longer time. Will ensure that you understand the connectivity through the progress of the training, but at the same time you can have this printed sheet near your desk, and you can focus, you can look into it at several point of time to kind of like have it retained in your brain. Then third, it's organized thinking, because we have categorized the complexities in of information into various categories so that you can create a map between them. Like for example, like a governance component is categorized into one, whereas the key risk areas are focused into one. The best practice and frameworks are also organized into one component. This way, what we can do is we can specifically see the connectivity between one of the complex areas to other complex areas. At the same time, we see how the process of thinking goes on through a flow. So that way it will be good to have a organized thought process for AI governance. First, I recall, you would be able to recall the key steps or key requirements, since it will create a visual impression on your mind. It will have a better problem solving. We can see how it works, but it would kind of when you would see any multiple choice questions, you would be able to refer it the flow diagram, and you can obviously get the required information very quickly. And finally, it's efficient learning. Obviously, towards the end you can evaluate yourself if it would definitely make sense, or you want to focus on any traditional learning over there. Anyway, so we'll focus on the trainer profile. So the trainer is having 16 plus years of experience in corporate, worked in uh, BFSI sector, primarily into econometrics and risk advisory, internal audit, technology risk, and data analytics, automation in that space. By education, BSc in computer science, MBA in finance, and also certified in CCSP, which is Cloud Security Professional, CISA, certified in cybersecurity, project management, COBIT, and various vendor-related certifications like IBM, AWS, auditors, and Databricks. So the trainer would navigate you through the mind map. Will try to learn how the human brain functioning is, and then we'll relate it back to AI, AI concepts, and then we'll look forward for what kind of trainings and certifications are available in future to kind of get ourselves upgraded, have some credentials in our resume and CV, and showcase our understanding and strength in AI governance. So I'll hand over to Trina. Thank you. All right, here we go. So again, you can see it's a PDF file, but what you can do is you can zoom in into particular section to focus and learn. We were talking about human brain, right? Human brain has several laws: left lobe, right lobe, midbrain, forebrain, which is various activities or decision making happens in dedicated areas of our brain, and how the brain cells are connected to each other via neuron connectivity, right? There's a electrical signals which flows from one neuron cell to other neuron cell, and a group of neuron cells are working together to kind of help you for visual recognitions or decision making, or probably like processing any languages and things like that. So human brain work in a way, if you think from like a childhood, like we when we were born. Similarly, in machine also there's a natural language processing which are you know you can see a lot of use cases nowadays. So somebody saying in Hindi or English or Gujarati, things like that, you can translate into English live and you can respond. You might be seeing a lot of those videos are coming in where the apps are getting developed which would process the natural languages real time basis and provide inputs or output accordingly. There is visual recognition. Our eyes, like that works as an input. It will identify who's who, and probably like when you see your friends, automatically the signal in the subconscious mind it start processing, like that face, like it'll immediately within fraction of a second, your expression changes, you smile at your friend, and that decision making happens in quick span of time. So again, in decision making, through your language processing or visual recognitions or the connectivity between various neuron cells, you take your decisions, your time, your futuristic views, what is what your priorities, what do you want to do next. You're feeling hungry, you're feeling thirsty. This is how the human brain is working. On similar fashion, we are trying to have an artificial intelligence which can do decision making on human behalf, right? We are talking about AI agents and things like that. So you had been doing email reading, you were seeing like what has been content of that email, and then probably like you were working. Now possibly there would be an agent which would learn from your actions. It will go to your Outlook or any email box which you are using. It will understand what the key priorities of the day. It'll segregate the information, it'll go to your respective files which you have located. Probably if you are doing coding, it'll go to respective repository and identify like key priority of coding for this day, and you can like probably have a human in the loop component to kind of have that authentication system where you want to like, ensure that like the AI doesn't have authentication to each and every files which you have, otherwise you would be screwed up. But at the same time, things are getting easier, right? Like you could have spent half an hours or 1 hour to kind of read through the email and then take a decision, but that decision is getting processed within 5 minutes. So that is the benefit, like we should think artificial intelligence as a companion or a friend of human being, like to minimize your like the complexity or your actions and things like that. But anyway, we'll go towards what is the formal definition of AI as per the various bodies. Like you can see, OECD has a definition. You artificial intelligence. See, like understanding the definition of AI would help solve your governance related questions. So let's interpret this definition. I would prefer this EU Artificial Intelligence Act, which looks very much like regulatory aligned. At the same time, it also has clearer definitions. Though I have kept another definition which is like little simpler version of what EU Artificial Intelligence Act is saying. So it says AI system means a machine-based system. Obviously, it's like developed over time, and it has input processing and output unit. That means it works like a machine, and that is designed to operate with varying level of autonomy. So we said, you know, uh, um, the autonomy can be through human decision, right? Like, you want to have an authentication system before your AI system go to your code repository. Possibly, like, that is where human in the loop is coming in. So you don't want the AI to go directly to your repository and take a decision on your behalf. So that level of autonomy can be varying. Like, in cases of agents, AI agents, it's like a little more. But if you see like prompt engineering, or traditional discriminative AI models, for example, like, sentiment analysis and things like that, we'll go to that, obviously. But in that case, the autonomy or decision making uh, from, like, machine side is lesser, right? And we had more human component over there. But over the time, we can minimize the human component, but still the human in the loop is very, very required, because few of the decision, it is always judgmental and has to be, human initiated one. So, and then that may exhibit adaptiveness after deployment. Adaptiveness in the sense, like, you deploy it, it keeps on learning. It learns from, your feedbacks, like, the continuous inputs which you are giving. And that is the reinforcement learning which we are saying. Like, if you are getting a result and you are not happy with it, you can give a feedback to your machine or AI system. It'll develop, it'll reprocess the information and provide updated output which you might like. So those are, the, like, adaptiveness. And it might have explicit or implicit objectives. It infers, as I said, through inference, or, like, reinforcement learning. It kind of, like, it relates back to the feedbacks and output it has produced. And the output are probably like the predictions, the content, the recommendations, and decisions. Like predictions in terms of what would be the probability of default, for a customer for a loan, right? Like a bank, when they are providing loans, they're deciding interest rate. They're doing a credit scoring, and they are trying to see whether you would fall default, because these are the models which are basically predictive model, which we say. Those are there in banks. Similarly, like on sales and other divisions also, they use many of the predictive models, even in finance and other areas. Then second part is content. You might be seeing a lot of, visually appealing contents are coming in YouTube, Instagrams, and various social media channels. Our Gen Z are going behind it, like, because they are, I think, they are more creative than us, possibly. Recommendations, probably, like, it will give you some of the information where you can look forward for system generated recommendations, and compare with, like, what you could have possibly, like, taken a decision for, right? Like, and it'll give you various suggestions. For example, if I give, audit finding report, and I tell that, like, can you recommend, like, what would be the possible implementation plan to remediate the root cause, and probably, like, mitigate that risk. It'll give us that recommendations, and the decisions which might influence the physical or virtual environment. So it's a very beautiful definition. And I have comprehended that into a simpler term, which is second one, which is AI system is a machine based system that is for explicit or implicit objective infers from the input it receives, and how to generate outputs such as predictions, content, recommendations, and decisions, which we spoke about, right? So these are the definition, and the key focus for the definition to put in AI is because, this definition is little flexible. Like in future, even if new models comes in, it the definition fits well for upcoming developments as well. So now we are good at the definition. If you have any questions, please raise your hands, and we can get it clarified. But again, moving forward, we'll discuss about basically discriminative AI versus generative AI. And what we say by discriminative AI is, like, it has a discrimination ability. Like, we'll give some example. So let's assume that, you read in newspaper. Okay, and there have been various news, positive, negative. There are news which are really emotional, probably like some ad would be there. There are various content with the newspaper. You see the newspaper, and in your brain you decide like it's a positive view, negative view, what kind of sentiments it has. So that is something which is like your sentiment analysis. Is it negative, is it neutral, is it positive? You are reviewing about customer feedback. So customer says it's wonderful, or I had a very good time in this restaurant, or they will say the staffs were really nice. So how do you judge it? It's a positive statement. Somebody would say, yeah, it's good to stay, but they really don't explain anything. Probably it's neutral. Somebody says like I had really bad experience, that's negative. So what happens is different words in the dictionaries, they are given with a specific sentiment. And again, like when it comes to a sentence, based on combination of these words, you judgmentally identify whether this particular statement or sentence is leading towards positive, neutral, or negative, right? That is a kind of you know categorization or discriminations within various bunch of text you will give to a particular sentence. That's called sentiment analysis, and that goes through a lot of training when you're doing a labeling, that whether this statement is positive, neutral, or it's negative. The continuous flow of training happens and learning happens for the machine, and it'll start deciding whether like this looks like a positive statement or negative statement. I'll give you a beautiful example here. Like when you are seeing in Amazon and you are seeing a product, you will see a summary of sentiment over there. What customer in an average say about this product. That's something which is sentiment analysis. Named entity recognition. That's again similar to it, but again within a sentence you identify different words and see what exactly it indicates for. Like for example, it might indicate a name, it might indicate an entity, a person name, or some event. And basically when you are training your systems, you continuously feed that information over period of time, and so that you clearly understand from group of text that whether like this particular name is an individual name or customer name. See, like the words are limited. I understand like what you want to form through those combination of words are unlimited, and there is no boundary to it. But at the same time, the compositions, the words which are going to a particular dictionary or book or write up or white paper, those are limited. So basically if we start giving you know machine the feed of information that this is name, this is entity, this is individual name, this is event, this is date, or things like that, after a point of time machine would tend to learn this. Like if you feed information on a continuous basis, the machine would obviously like take a decision that this is individual or this is entity name. This is how it happens in human brain also, right? Like when you are kid, you teach the kid this is number, this is a, this is b. You continuously teach them, and after a point of time they start taking actions. You get surprised like when they would do wonders after a lot of training. But there is a lot of effort which goes in the training as well, for sure. Okay. So there is another model which is related to image classification. Obviously that also goes through similar training, which is very much similar to how human brain works. You see, this is particularly a dog's picture. You feed that information continuously, and out of like a bunch of pictures you can identify this is dog, this is cat, this is rabbit, or this is goat, or this is elephant. So that's again like because machine had a memory, it had training, it memorize information, and it can immediately infer that this looks like dog. It has particular dimension, the eyes looks like this, the ear look like this. So that's something which is image classification. Finally, optical character recognition. You might have seen these applications. It's been decade since various tools which were there in market, where you can see the scanned images to kind of like convert it to text. So Adobe extracts and many such tools were there in the market where it was doing optical character recognition. So what it was doing is like it was identifying whether it is A or B or C, through the image, and it was converting to text so that like you can do editing and further work on those documents. That also works in similar fashion because that's a recognition and training based. So why we are calling this as a discriminative? Because it discriminates, like it discriminates between cat and dog, it discriminates between A and B, discriminates between one entity to other entity, discriminates the news between negative to neutral to positive. So that is the whole reason this is called discriminative AI. And now what we will be seeing is transformative or probably generative AI, right? Like which are possibly like a lot of developments are happening in that space where you are creating something new. It's generating, it's like you are trying to write the image, you are saying like GPT, give me a picture of a new animal which I have not seen ever. So probably it will try to uh, create something new which is not basically direct link with any of the training information which was put into it. But again, we'll go through each of these models one by one to have that understanding. And like basically like the lot of these applications of generative AI are been there in the market, and which is creating these buzzwords currently. The models which we are seeing here are basically generative adversarial networks, GAN. There is diffusion model, there is autoregressive model. Autoregressive model is again like little older one, we'll go through it. Then variational autoencoders, and then which we call VAE. And we also have transformers. Transformers are the one which are the key model or engine behind the latest chart GPT, generative pre-trained transformers. These are the key models which are basically used on large language models and things like that. But again, I'll take a pause here to see if you have any questions, and then we'll go to part two, where we'll specifically discuss about these models. We'll see some simulations of these models, how these models are working, and though we won't be developing them, but it's very crucial that we have a high level understanding about this model, and then we'll look forward for further governance and risk and other component. Thank you.